"Would you like to eat with me?" the poor black man asked the homeless little girl who had just been thrown out of the fancy restaurant. No one expected that this simple act of kindness would lead to him being humiliated and thrown out as well. Before we dive into this story, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The soft, warm glow from crystal chandeliers shimmered. Each deep red wine glass, every artfully arranged dish gleamed under the opulent light. In Leard, the city's most exquisite restaurant, the delicate clinking of silver cutlery against fine porcelain blended with hushed, sophisticated conversations. Like silk waves, luxury rippled through the air. Samuel Johnson, a man in his 40s, sat there. His hands, gnarled from decades of labor, contrasted with his gaunt but resolute build. Across from him lay a plate of roasted lamb chops with mint sauce. His brand-new shirt, though coarse, was clean. It was the finest thing he'd ever touched, making him feel a strange mix of pride and awkwardness in such a grand setting. For over 20 years, Samuel's life had been a relentless cycle of physical exertion. He'd spent his days hauling goods, moving colossal crates from ships to the docks and onto trucks. Nights were spent driving delivery routes through the city center. He'd poured sweat onto dusty streets, under scorching sun or torrential rain. Every meager coin earned felt like a triumph, hard-won from the unforgiving elements. He'd lived a life solely dedicated to relentless labor, yearning for a little peace. He longed for a small, tangible reward for his arduous years. In Samuel's heart, this meal wasn't just sustenance. It was a liberation, however brief, from the crushing weight of his daily grind. It was a living testament to his tireless efforts. He felt every fiber of the lamb, every drop of mint sauce as a worthy reward, a taste of the freedom and comfort he'd longed for. He took a deep breath. The rich aroma of lamb blended with cool mint, filling his lungs. It chased away the musty smell of his daily toil. He slowly picked up his fork, ready to savor the first bite. A tired but contented smile was about to grace his lips. This wasn't just a meal. It was his hard-earned pride. In stark contrast to the warmth inside, outside Leard's ornate iron gate, the biting night wind whipped around a small figure. Lily, no older than 8, was pale and bone-thin. She huddled in a dark, recessed corner, pressed against the cold stone wall. Her face was smudged with dirt, her lips chapped and bleeding. Her thin, dirty coat offered little protection against the bruises on her scrawny arms and legs. Her bare feet were purple from the cold, caked with mud, showing dried blood from walking on sharp cobblestones. Her gray-dual eyes, once bright, were now vacant. They held the deepest fear and despair from 2 weeks of living completely alone on the unforgiving streets. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, and the cold tortured her small body. Every muscle ached. She still clutched a small golden owl hairpin in her hand. It was a birthday gift from her mother, the only thing left from a life once very different. A fragile thread, connecting her to a lost past. Lily felt her whole body seize up. The biting cold pierced her to the bone, leaving her unable to move. She could only hug herself tightly. In her child's eyes, the world beyond the gleaming door was a distant dream, a world of warmth and food that belonged to others. She just yearned for anything to soothe the gnawing hunger and the cold that was slowly draining her life. A side door opened. A waiter emerged, throwing leftover food forcefully into a metal bin. The dry clang echoed harshly in the silent night. Lily, drawn by the smell, cautiously crept closer, her eyes pleading for a bit of mercy, a scrap. The waiter noticed her. His face contorted with disgust. He snapped, his voice full of contempt, stamping his foot to shoo her away. "Get out, you filthy kid! Don't you dare touch anything here. This rich folks' food ain't for dirty brats like you." He even kicked the bin lightly, sending it toppling over, food scattering onto the cold ground. The Lily flinched, retreating, hitting the cold wall. Tears no longer came, only a dull ache remained in her chest, a numbing sensation. She huddled tighter, trying to become utterly invisible, swallowing the sobs that threatened to choke her. Through the large glass window, Samuel witnessed the entire scene. He was all too familiar with homeless children, with the harsh discrimination of this world. but the image of this small, pale girl, trembling in the cold night, being so cruelly chased away, touched a deep, hidden corner of his soul. An old wound suddenly throbbed. He remembered his own hungry days, cold nights, being looked down upon simply because of his skin color and poverty. The despair in the girl's eyes was an undeniable reminder, a potent echo from his own past. He looked at the fragrant lamb chops in front of him. This was a meal he'd saved up his meager weekly wages for. This was the meal he'd waited for, a symbol of his hard work. He knew well that if he helped the girl, he would have to give up this meal, and perhaps even the little bit of savings he carried. This meant facing leaner days ahead, sharing his meager money with a homeless child when he himself struggled for every meal was an incredibly difficult decision. His internal struggle wasn't the fear of losing his job alone, but the profound worry for his own survival if he had to share what little he had earned, what he'd toiled for with blood and sweat. How can I sit here and truly enjoy this meal when a child is coiling up outside, starving and freezing? The thought hammered at Samuel's mind. He felt a surge of profound shame, a heavy guilt pressing down on the delicious lamb. His compassion outweighed all personal calculations, all fear for his own future. He took a deep breath and slowly stood up. His waiter approached. "Do you need anything, sir?" Samuel nodded towards Lily and said, "Could you please invite that little girl in?" The waiter's brows furrowed, his face a mask of annoyance. "Sir, that girl? She's absolutely not allowed in. That's restaurant policy," he stated, his voice laced with clear disdain. Samuel kept his composure, his gaze unwavering. "I'll pay for her meal, invite her in, give her a table." A ripple of whispers spread through the room. Heads turned. Customers at nearby tables began to openly stare, their faces a mix of curiosity and discomfort. "Did he just say, pay for her meal?" one woman murmured, exchanging a bewildered look with her husband. "And that girl? From the street?" another whispered. The air grew thick with tension, a palpable unease. After a few agonizing seconds, the waiter's eyes darted nervously between the murmuring diners, then to the stack of crumpled bills Samuel had placed on the pristine tablecloth. The lure of the extra money, perhaps, or a reluctant desire to avoid a scene won out. With a visible sigh of resignation and a hint of a sneer, he gave a curt nod and turned to lead Lily inside. Lily was reluctantly led inside by the waiter. Her eyes widened, filled with a mixture of fear and bewilderment, taking in the glittering lights, the opulent luxury, and the many unfamiliar faces staring intently at her. Samuel gently pulled out a chair next to his table. "Come here, little one. Sit with me." He called for a hot soup and the largest roast chicken, then gently pushed the plate towards Lily. "Eat, child, eat slowly. No one will take it from you." Lily trembled as she picked up her fork, her small hands still smudged with dirt. She looked up at Samuel with wide, disbelieving eyes, as if this were all a fragile dream. When the first piece of chicken touched her tongue, a strange, profound warmth spread through her. Tears began to stream down her smudged face as she bit into the second piece. She devoured it, each savory bite melting in her mouth, her tears mingling with the sweetness of the food. She ate so fast she almost choked, quickly reaching for a glass of water. Lily felt a deep, comforting warmth spread from her throat to her stomach, chasing away the gnawing cold and hunger that had tormented her for what felt like an eternity. She couldn't comprehend why this man was so kind to her, but that simple, unexpected act of generosity made her want to weep endlessly. The small, golden owl hairpin in her pocket was clutched even tighter, like a protective charm. In that fleeting moment, she truly believed that something good still existed in this harsh world. Samuel watched her eat, feeling a quiet warmth spread through his chest, a profound sense of contentment more satisfying than any meal he could have eaten. He had just picked up his own lamb chops, about to take his first bite, when a sharp, enraged voice abruptly shattered the peaceful moment. Mr. Harrison, the restaurant manager, strode over, his face flushed with furious indignation. He practically growled, "What in the blazes is going on here? Who allowed this child in? A filthy beggar child is staining this elegant space. Don't you see she's dirtying my carpets? You know Leard and strict dress code and hygiene policies." His voice grew progressively louder, echoing through the dining room like a thunderclap, drawing the absolute attention of every single diner. Samuel stood up, attempting to explain, his voice calm despite the rising tension. "Mr. Harrison, she's just a child who was cold and hungry," but the manager cut him off, his voice reaching a shrill, authoritarian pitch. "Silence! You have utterly ruined my customer's dinner. You have disgraced this entire establishment. Get out immediately, both of you. I don't want to see either of you here for another second." The surrounding diners turned to stare openly, their expressions a mix of horrified curiosity, palpable disgust, and outright annoyance. No one, not a single soul, spoke up to defend them. Some patrons looked away, feigning disinterest, while others glared with undisguised contempt. Samuel felt a crushing wave of humiliation and utter helplessness wash over him. He looked at the money he'd just paid, the untouched, fragrant lamb chops, and Lily's utterly terrified face. He clenched his fists, knowing he was completely powerless against this public, humiliating assault. Samuel bowed his head, took Lily's hand, and walked out of Learden, leaving behind the contemptuous stares and the manager's lingering fury. He had lost all the money saved for his special meal, without even tasting a single bite. Outside, the biting night wind cut like a knife, chilling him to the bone, mirroring the raw ache in his soul. Lily looked up at him, trembling, her eyes welling with tears. "Uncle Sam?" "I'm sorry." Samuel offered a gentle smile, a warm expression that somehow chased away the cold. "It's okay, little one. We'll find something even better." He took Lily to a humble pizza shop tucked away in a small alley, its weak yellow light spilled onto the damp pavement. With the little money he had left, he bought the largest hot cheese pizza available. They sat on a worn-out bench outside, sharing slice after slice. Lily devoured it, each piece melting in her mouth. Tears streamed down her cheeks, not from hunger now, but from overwhelming gratitude and an unfamiliar warmth. For Lily, this pizza wasn't just food. It was a profound miracle, undeniable proof that truly kind people still existed. Her fear, so pervasive just moments before, receded, replaced by a strange, comforting sense of peace and trust. Samuel ate too, feeling the warmth of the pizza spread through his chest, tasting infinitely better than any expensive lamb chops. This moment, on a cold night, between a poor black man and a wandering white girl, was a small, vibrant flame ignited in the encompassing darkness. It was a moment of pure sharing and profound goodness. When Lily had calmed down, Samuel gently asked, "Are you lost, little one? Do you remember your parents' names? Or your home address?" Lily shook her head, her eyes distant and vacant. I got lost in a very crowded place, and then I don't remember anything else. I only have this." She held out the small golden owl hairpin. Samuel looked at the exquisite hairpin, solid gold. This wasn't something a typical street child would possess. A thought flashed in his mind. This might be the only clue. Samuel spoke with firm resolve. "I'll help you. I'll take you to the nearest police station. Someone there will help you find your family." As Samuel listened to Lily recount getting lost, an old, familiar pain suddenly tore at his heart. He too had once been an orphan, growing up without knowing his parents, with absolutely no one to rely on. That terrifying feeling of being lost and utterly alone had haunted him his entire life. Now, looking into Lily's vacant eyes, he saw a reflection of his own younger self. More than anyone, he deeply understood the profound suffering of a child abandoned with no safe haven. Lily's muffled sobs from earlier suddenly echoed louder in his mind, drowning out all his personal worries, all his fears about the future. He squeezed Lily's small hand tightly, making a decision driven by the deepest call of his conscience. A decision that would irrevocably alter his life forever. He and Lily squeezed into an old, rumbling taxi, its engine rattling rhythmically. Throughout the ride, Lily pressed close to him, her small arm clutching his hand like a lifeline in a vast, unpredictable sea. Initially she was shy, offering only quiet replies to Samuel's gentle questions. But gradually his calm, reassuring voice began to soothe her. Samuel gently told her random stories about mischievous kittens playing in sunbeams, or strangely shaped clouds drifting across the sky, anything to distract her from her lingering fear. Meanwhile, inside him, the anxiety about his meager remaining money and the looming prospect of losing his job was steadily growing. But he meticulously concealed it behind a warm smile and encouraging words. She felt a strange, profound sense of safety, as if all her fears had somehow vanished with Uncle Sam's large hand clutching hers. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in many days she could feel genuine warmth and a deep sense of peace. He glanced at his watch. His night shift at the docks would begin in less than 1 hour. He knew he had to be on time, but how could he possibly abandon this child? He and Lily arrived at the Central Police Station. He didn't leave immediately. Instead, he patiently sat with Lily for several hours. He recounted her story in detail to the duty officer, emphasizing the unique hairpin and the critical need to help her find her family. He did his utmost to meticulously describe everything Lily had told him, hoping the police would take her case with the utmost seriousness. He only departed when Lily had been safely handed over to a dedicated female officer who assured him Lily would not be abandoned or mistreated. When he finally left the police station, it was almost dawn. A faint ray of sunlight began to appear on the horizon, like a fragile promise of a new beginning. The very next morning, as he had grimly anticipated, Samuel received the devastating news. He was fired from his job at the docks. The reason given was non-compliance with work hours, unauthorized absence from a crucial shift, and endangering company property. He had been hauling goods and driving trucks for over 20 years. It was his sole source of stable income. Being a casual laborer with loose contracts, firing was often swift and required little specific justification. Samuel understood that once fired, the chance of finding similar stable employment was almost zero. Losing his job meant life would become immeasurably more difficult. He would face relentless days of hunger, long nights with no true place of rest. He was forced to take temporary, excruciatingly difficult odd jobs just to earn a few meager coins. He hauled heavy sacks at the wholesale market until his hands bled. He washed dishes in dingy, cheap restaurants until late at night, or he swept streets under the scorching sun and the putrid stench of sewage. His cramped, damp, rented room now offered only plain rice with a few boiled vegetables, or sometimes no meal at all when he couldn't find work. His rickety bed became the only sanctuary where his exhausted body could collapse after long, grueling days of hard labor. His feet were perpetually swollen, and constant throbbing aches were his nightly companions. His health gradually deteriorated due to the heavy physical demands and chronic malnutrition. His face became gaunter, his eyes deeply etched with ceaseless worries. However, Samuel harbored no regrets. A few days after bringing Lily to the police station, he still persistently sought information about the girl. Every day he wasn't working, he made it a point to go to the police station, defying the indifference or outright dismissal he often faced, to ask about Lily and the golden owl hairpin. He felt an invisible yet powerful responsibility, as if Lily was a reborn fragment of his own painful childhood memories. He also visited social welfare organizations, often waiting for hours under the harsh sun or in the biting cold rain, just to catch a brief glimpse of Lily. He consistently reminded her to keep the hairpin safe, telling her it might be the key to finding her family. His unwavering persistence was the only thread Lily clung to, the only adult who truly believed in and genuinely cared for her well-being. Meanwhile, at the Carmichael Mansion, an atmosphere of profound mourning still hung heavy, a suffocating blanket of grief. Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael, the city's wealthiest and most powerful magnates, were plunged into the deepest sorrow imaginable. The relentless search for Lily had dragged on for over 1 month, costing millions of dollars, yet it remained utterly fruitless, yielding no clues. Mrs. Carmichael was on the verge of complete emotional collapse. Every night she'd wake abruptly from vivid, repetitive nightmares of her daughter lost in an impenetrable darkness, or coiling up alone on a freezing pavement. Her mother's heart was utterly shattered. She wanted to scream her anguish, but no sound would escape. She felt an overwhelming sense of guilt and helplessness, relentlessly blaming herself for failing to protect her child. Mr. Carmichael, a man of steel in the ruthless business world, now sat dazed and utterly broken in his sprawling study, piles of fruitless search documents stacked precariously high on his desk. He used to be a man who controlled everything, every strategic decision, but now he found himself utterly powerless to control the overwhelming fear of losing his daughter. This profound helplessness was the greatest pain he had ever experienced. Every cherished photo of Lily on his desk felt like a sharp dagger twisting deeper into his heart. They had endured countless sleepless nights, living in a constant state of agonizing torment and the terrifying dread that their beloved daughter had vanished forever. One dreary rain-soaked afternoon, as Samuel was bent double, hauling impossibly heavy sacks at the market, his hands raw and bleeding and his back aching more acutely than ever before, an unexpected phone call dramatically altered both their fates. At the police station, young Officer Sarah, who always possessed a compassionate heart and a rare, unwavering dedication, had witnessed Samuel's tireless persistence on numerous occasions. She was diligently reviewing missing children's files, never losing hope for even the smallest clue. She happened to spot the Carmichael family's missing person notice in an old newspaper. It was Samuel's remarkably detailed descriptions of Lily, of the unique hairpin, that instantly helped Sarah recognize the astonishing match. A crucial detail many other busy and perhaps indifferent colleagues might have easily overlooked. Hope, which had seemed utterly extinguished, suddenly flared brightly and fiercely in Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael's hearts when they received the call from the police station. That moment for them was as if the entire world suddenly burst into vibrant light again, after what felt like an eternity spent in crushing darkness. Their hearts pounded wildly, a frantic, thunderous rhythm in their chests, a dizzying mix of fear and a fragile, desperate hope. When they finally saw Lily, a powerful electric current coursed through their bodies, followed by a suffocating, almost painful sense of relief. They burst into overwhelming tears, clutching their daughter tightly, so tightly as if letting go for even a moment would make her vanish once more. All the agonizing pain, the torment, and the profound despair of the past weeks instantly transformed into the most exquisite tears of pure, unadulterated happiness. When Lily's parents arrived to pick her up, they heard the full, incredible story from the police officers and from Lily herself, who kept happily mentioning kind Uncle Sam who gave her pizza and brought her to a safe place, and his subsequent persistent visits. The Carmichael family, overflowing with boundless gratitude and overwhelming joy at finally finding their child, immediately requested to meet Samuel. The next day, as Samuel finished his arduous work at the market, his tired feet dragging heavily on the familiar road back to his cramped rented room, a sleek, luxurious black car smoothly pulled up beside him. The car door opened, and Lily, now clean, warmly dressed, and with eyes no longer fearful but sparkling with unadulterated happiness, burst out and rushed to hug him, tears welling in her eyes. Uncle Sam, I found you!" Samuel froze, utterly stunned, his weary eyes filled with disbelief. "Lily? You were found?" Mr. Carmichael stepped forward, grasping Samuel's hand firmly, his voice choked with raw emotion, trembling uncontrollably. "Mr. Samuel, no words, absolutely no words can express our family's gratitude. Lily is everything to us, our entire world, and you brought her back. We heard the full story from her and from the police, and we know you sacrificed your job and relentlessly cared for her during that terrifying time. Please, sir, allow us to repay this profound kindness. We want you to move into a much more comfortable apartment. You will never need to do heavy labor again. We will completely take care of your life. All we ask in return is that you permit Lily to visit occasionally." Mrs. Carmichael added, tears streaming freely down her face as she took Samuel's other hand and squeezed it gently. "Please, Mr. Samuel, please accept. This is the absolute least we can do." These wealthy parents, in that moment, paid no mind whatsoever to Samuel's humble appearance. Their hearts were overflowing only with profound gratitude and deep respect. The overwhelming joy of finding their daughter had filled every empty space in their souls, making them willing to do anything for the man who had brought light back into their lives. Samuel was profoundly moved by their immense kindness. He looked at Lily, who was still holding his hand tightly, her eyes sparkling with pure happiness. A life of ease, free from worry, something he had never dared to dream of. For a brief, intoxicating moment, the image of a soft, comfortable bed and hot, abundant meals flashed vividly in his mind, a sweet, irresistible temptation. But then, another thought suddenly ignited in his mind, burning far more intensely than the allure of a comfortable life. He looked at Lily. She had already endured far too much. For Lily to be truly, unequivocally happy, she needed a normal life, completely unburdened by anything. He absolutely did not want to become an invisible burden, a constant, living reminder of the terrible difficulties she had endured, or to inadvertently create any sense of pressure for her to repay him. His gaze became profoundly thoughtful, a strange, unyielding resolve now clear in his eyes. Samuel, a man who had been fiercely independent his entire life, had never once wanted to be a burden or to live off anyone else's generosity. Furthermore, he deeply understood that for Lily to achieve a truly peaceful life, completely untainted by the traumas of the past, she needed to integrate fully and seamlessly into her birth family, free from any lingering emotional ties or perceived obligations to a poor benefactor. He did not want his humble presence, or any feeling of indebtedness Lily might harbor, to prevent her from living a full, carefree life like any other child. Samuel realized with a heavy heart that for Lily to truly soar, he had to let go. His greatest sacrifice wasn't losing his job. It was giving up the right to be near Lily, relinquishing the comfort he so deserved, sacrificing a part of his own hard-won happiness, a painful yet absolutely necessary separation, a decision forged from the crucible of his own orphaned experience. Samuel took a deep, shaky breath, his voice trembling slightly, but imbued with unwavering resolve, each word etched from the very depths of his soul. "I am incredibly grateful for your immense kindness, Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael, but I simply cannot accept that help. Lily has her family now. She needs to grow up in the loving embrace of her real parents, completely unburdened by anything from the past. My continued presence here might inadvertently make her feel pressure to repay me, or constantly remind her of those difficult days she endured. I truly do not want that to happen." He looked directly at Lily, offering a warm but deeply painful smile, his eyes conveying all his profound love and hopeful wishes. "I want you to live the happiest life possible, little one. Please, forget those hard days. Live a full, joyful life, unencumbered by anything." Mr. Carmichael tried desperately to persuade him, his voice filled with pleading. "But Mr. Samuel, we simply cannot let you walk away like this. You saved our daughter's life." Samuel shook his head, his gaze firm and resolute. "Just knowing Lily is living well, that is the greatest reward for me." He turned back to Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael, his eyes pleading, filled with an undeniable sincerity. "Please, I beg you, promise me this. Take exceptionally good care of Lily, and let her live a carefree, truly happy life. That is all I ask, and it is more than enough." Samuel had made his ultimate sacrifice, unequivocally refusing well-deserved compensation and a life of comfort, solely to ensure Lily's future was entirely free and unburdened. A profoundly selfless act, a monumental testament to a truly great heart that utterly transcended all personal gain. Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael, though immensely bewildered and filled with regret, eventually understood Samuel's noble heart and profound self-respect. They knew he wasn't the kind of person who would live off others or easily accept charity. They reluctantly agreed to his request, but deep in their hearts they silently made a solemn vow, a sacred commitment they would never, ever forget. Using their vast network and immense influence, the Carmichael family discreetly arranged for Samuel to have a significantly better life. He no longer had to endure bitter hunger or soul-crushing cold, nor the back-breaking, health-destroying labor. His life gradually stabilized. He acquired a safe and warm home and had enough food, comforts he didn't realize were favors bestowed from the shadows, as gentle and imperceptible as the passing wind. He simply believed it was due to good fortune or his own unwavering diligence finally being rewarded, a simple yet steadfast conviction. Lily, though still young, never ever forgot Uncle Sam. While they didn't meet publicly or frequently, out of respect for Samuel's wishes, she still sent him crudely drawn letters of owls and small, unmarked gifts through a trustworthy intermediary. Lily always gently reminded her parents about Uncle Sam in their conversations, serving as a subtle, constant reminder of the profound kindness that had saved her life. In Samuel's final years, he continued to live a simple, independent life. He often visited the community library, reading newspapers and quietly, discreetly following news about Lily through articles about the Carmichael family, who became renowned philanthropists. Whenever he saw Lily growing up in happiness and love, flourishing and succeeding in life, a deep, contented smile would unfailingly bloom on Samuel's face. He knew that his sacrifice was not in vain, that the immense price he paid had indeed bought a bright and hopeful future for a tiny, vulnerable soul. It was a trade-off that cost him a difficult life, but in return he gained a life that sowed seeds of hope and profound happiness, the ripples of which would extend through generations. He knew with absolute certainty that he was the richest man in the world, not in material wealth, but in the boundless fullness of his heart and the deeply meaningful impact he had irrevocably brought to another's life. Samuel passed away peacefully, closing a life that, though undeniably filled with hardships, shone brightly and radiantly with the pure light of selflessness and human dignity. He lived fully, not just for himself, but for a better future. Forever a silent, enduring inspiration. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.